On this week's episode of Carlie's Couch, we have 22 questions to end your 2022.
I would have did a little 50 Cent references, but obviously we can't do that for 21 questions. Question number 1, what's going on in my throat?
That's the way to end the year for
She
sure.
like, you tell me.
I can't reach the little sound effects, but y'all know we got them.
You tell me. Too many hookah nights.
Man, nah, 50 Cent was wilding, bro. Like, he said, if I was cheating and somebody saw, like, somebody caught him and told you, and I said it wasn't me, would you believe me or up and leave
Yeah,
me?
you're right. That is super egregious because it's not even just if I was cheating, would you leave me? It's what if somebody saw me and they told you
and happened to see.
And I gaslight, basically said, if I gaslighted you, are you going to be good? And I'm sure she was, so.
Would you? What? Yeah,
the
egregious,
audacity.
sir.
I didn't even think that hard about it, Carly. You're right. That's not even that's not a healthy question at all. But we are going to ask I don't know, I guess thoughtful, healthy, reflective, assessing type questions. And talking to Carly, I was like, let's just try to make this fast and just, what's the first thing that kind of comes to mind? But the end of the year is always a good time to reflect and think back. And I think what's the most interesting about like reflecting on a year is when you're thinking about the things that happened. Sometimes it's like, oh wait, was that this year, that last year? Like, and then kind of like putting into perspective, like what really has just happened in the last few months. So I'm looking forward to this. I think it'll be pretty fun.
Yeah, so as you hear the questions, think about whatever is the first thing that comes to mind and let's get it. So the first question is, Alexia, what is one of the biggest lessons that you learned this year?
I learned that you should spend money to make money.
Ooh, that's a good
Maybe
one.
not learn, but like I applied, so maybe I didn't answer the question all the way because, it's stuff but really like seeing that works. I learned that works.
I learned that I have to know what I want and ask for it in order to get it.
Mm-hmm. What was your biggest win of this year?
Man, expanding my business, expanding holistic, reaching some of those goals. Actually, expanding both my businesses, holistically dope too.
Is there any like specific like a benchmark where you feel like how it expanded or anything specifically?
I grew my email list. I upped the number of sales per month. I increased the number of sessions with my largest corporate client.
So all the analytics is up.
Gang.
My biggest triumph of 2022, I'm already getting lost. My biggest triumph of 2022, I think, is there's so many things now. Oh, it's hard to like choose something because I don't know. It's not my biggest. My biggest triumph of this year is, I'll say getting my credit score up. Like substantially up. That's definitely a big triumph for me.
That's great. Even though credit scores and all that stuff ain't real and they were founded right around the time I was born. When you getting
canceled out trying to do something. So
I see that, but
it's real when you got to pay 8 months of deposit on something.
Ain't nonsense.
All right, Carly. I can't even read. What are you proud of this year?
I am proud that I unapologetically chose myself. And I feel like it's probably the first year that I can say that in so many areas of my life.
Okay. I am proud of being able to, a lot of times this year that I loaned money, let people do things like without paying and that not affecting me in a negative way.
That's a blessing. What was the most challenging part of your year?
For me, I think the most challenging part of 2022 is dealing with like personal relationship, like romantic relationships and separation, while also, dealing with other parts of your life, like work and all of that. So, kind of being in a space of trying to figure out or, when you might know logically what should happen or what's going on, but you're very, very much still feel connected and kind of going back and forth. So for me, I would think that was probably the most challenging part. What about for you?
For me, as our parents get older, it gets harder, especially like not living anywhere near them. And so, just like with family health problems and stuff going on, like not being like, one, that's just tough to go through, but two, also like a little bit of guilt about not being able to support in the way I want to or always be there. So that was like a struggle for me this year.
Mm-hmm. And then would you say that you had the most growth this year?
Ooh, I want to
It's
have.
not something that you said.
Yeah, I was about to say, I want to have all the answers. I'll say physically, I have been so consistent with my workouts, and you're like, well, duh, you're a trainer. But like, no, it's not easy. And most of the time you spend so much time training other people that you're not actually as consistent with yourself. And so I've just been eating better, been taking better care of myself. And so I feel like so good in that area of my life.
Mm-hmm. I definitely have had the most growth in being less, I hope I'm using the right word, being less conflict averse. What I'm trying to say is that enjoying confrontation and conflict a little bit more and viewing that as the way through and kind of, I don't want to say necessarily enjoying it, but I kind of do like actually like the challenge of like, okay, say what you need to say, and then, or having hard discussions and what that kind of leads to.
Hopefully that's on mine next year. Was your biggest loss for this year?
Probably what felt like my biggest loss, because every time these things drop off, it's really not that deep, or like there's something better that's going on anyway. But for me, I would say my biggest loss is when my car got towed in March and I've never seen it again. Long story short, they got me on my registration. They got your girl. And then I ended up going out of town, and then I ended up away for a while, and the bill on it was so much more than like what even made sense for the car, as well as I had so many difficulties where I could not even get a registration for months. So it would have been like, all right, am I going to let this thing keep running up for 5 months till I can figure out all of the backtrack things I have to do? Or y'all, you know what? Y'all got it. Y'all just keep the car. So definitely lost my vehicle this year.
Damn. Yeah, I forgot that was this year. Seems like eons ago.
It was in March because I was in a meeting, and then I came out and was like, and then the person I was meeting with, I ain't want them to know all my business. I was like, all right, bye, take it. I'm waiting on my Uber. I was outside like, now where the hell is my car? I know my shit ain't gone. And that thing was gone.
Damn, LA will get you. They
crazy.
They don't play. Biggest loss. Ooh. Trying to be quick. I don't know.
Maybe think about something you're like really grieved about, if anything.
I mean, okay. I had to like excommunicate some people from my life just because like it doesn't feel like a big loss because it was a healthy thing to do, but I guess if I thought about it, like those are relationships that at one point in time were great and served me, but they no longer were. So out of here.
All right. Well, can you also think about what your biggest mistake this year was?
Oh, my taxes.
What'd you do?
Doc, I ain't never had to pay.
You did, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's true. I ain't never had to pay a day in my life, and like I messed up. I guess something. Shout out to TurboTax, but not really because y'all suck.
They got you caught up.
Like, yeah, dog. They're like, yeah, you should get this for like your refund. No, y'all screwed me, but it's okay. Because as being a contractor, but also self-employed and like all of the various things that I do, I think that maybe just my ducks weren't in a row in one of the areas and the way I submitted all my stuff. And so I ended up owing money. So whatever. What about you?
One of my biggest mistakes this year, 2022, was taking on a client for which wasn't really exactly a good fit. They came on board and their product was dropping like in 3 days. And, try to level. So like, hey, we're not about to, be started immediately. You got to develop strategy and all those things before you start developing out the digital marketing and all that. Like, we got a graphic design, all the things. She's like, yeah. Like, I get it. And then meanwhile, like the next day, she's like, all right, the book drops tomorrow. What we going to put up? And what we doing? And it's like, oh, no, I shouldn't have did that. And then the fact that all the things that we knew as experts is like, this is what we should do and what we want to do. It's like, I'm really old school. Like, I don't really want to do this or that, or can we just do this? And it's like, oh man, it just ended up being one of those things where it's like, all right, we gotta do kind of more what you want to do, and it's harder for us. We weren't set up for the success that we wanted to have because she was paying though, but it just I really don't have that much to show from working with them, and I didn't feel like it was the best like campaign because it was just so many factors that were red flags, but still did it anyway.
Yeah, we be setting ourselves up like that too. But you learn from those things. Hopefully, get paid in the process. What did you do well this year?
What I did well this year was us do my backtracking and recording of what the last 10 years have looked like with work. Went through and like started actually listing out, all the people we've done stuff with and what do we do and what was the other question? Did well. And with that, able to like really clearly think about how to like use and reuse and, develop this full story based off of collecting like all this information. So I think now I'm making this answer bigger by saying a lot of the biz dev stuff this year, I think we did really well. What about you?
I was in my creative bag this year, and I love that for me. Like, I love creating from like taking like a flower arrangement class and like making my own things at home to playing around with creating stuff with concrete and stuff just to beautify my home. And then the little, I forgot what it's called, but it's the clear stuff and you make stuff with it. Did that. But also like with my business, like I redesigned my whole website. I changed all my labels. I got creative about my product drops. Like it feels good just to create things that I love and believe in and to make my life better and more beautiful.
Okay. Well, speaking of making life better and more beautiful, was there any new habit or routine that you implemented this year that you noticed really improved?
Man, consistent AF with my morning routine, and it has changed my life for the better. So getting enough sleep, making sure I get up. I've been meditating so much more than anything else in my life or any other time period, and it just feels so good. But having that little, like, juicy, beautiful, luxurious time to myself in the morning is so wonderful.
Doing what? What's the juiciness?
So like meditating, slow mornings. Like I'm not forced to like get up and run or drive or hop on the highway or hop into a meeting or do anything. I have a little bit of time. I drink my like warm lemon water. I have my fresh juice. I have my coffee, or I go get my coffee. I take a little walk around the neighborhood and maybe listen to something or read a book in the morning, but choosing those things and choosing myself first.
Okay, that's great. For me, a new habit that I implemented this year, I think it's something a little bit different than what you just said. I would say taking more mindful showers and baths. I was trying to think of a different way to say it, but because I actually spend like a lot more time just like sitting in the bathroom now and like actually like setting up stuff with my books and things like that. And I just hadn't done that in years. But I did that a lot more. But I think to me that also includes like I'll give myself like foot massages and stuff. So like a little bit more self-care with my like hygiene routine in that case. I think that has made me feel like more relaxed and more peaceful, and even being like in the house by yourself.
That is nice. What would you do differently this year?
In 2022, so this year I lost my grandmother. She passed away in March. And one of the biggest things that affected me about it was that the last time I talked to her, I was like, I'm going to come see you. And then I'm about to cry now. And I kept going to visit other people and going to other trips and places. And I never went to go see her. And that was the last time. So that's what I would do. That's what I would do differently, is go actually visit my loved ones and people that I say I want to see. Now I made it all sad.
Yeah, I don't want to steal your answer. I definitely go see my mama more. But to say something different, I would spend more time with friends, like maybe here, like be more intentional about my social time, because I feel like coming out of COVID, it was like a lot for me. Like, I don't know, readjusting, or maybe that's just always been my social meter, but I never respected it because I felt like I had to do certain things. I don't know. So I would just spend more intentional time with people that I love, whether it be near or far.
Okay. I want to hear more specific answers from you, Carlie, moving forward.
Okay.
Just FYI.
Okay.
So what's something that you faced, like a situation you faced head on this year, instead of maybe how you might have avoided it in the past?
In like an intimate relationship, whenever I am displeased with something or upset, I tend to usually like not say as much because I didn't want to upset the situation, or there are different reasons. But this year I made it an effort, like even though the shit was uncomfortable as hell, to actually say like, oh, that disappoints me, or I'm disappointed, or that really hurt, like that really upset me, or that really hurt my feelings. And sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles and that's what it is. But I felt so much better like giving myself a voice in these situations. And it also has improved my relationship, because it's so funny whenever you actually start saying stuff to people, it's like, oh, that you give them a chance to respond. And if they're healthy relationships, then it's in a great way. It's like, oh man, mind blown. Who would have thought?
Something I faced head on this year, I would say, is health wise. I think I gained some weight like over the last couple of years, and less about COVID, I think, and more about at my age, and my body's like actually really starting to change for real now. So one of the things that I started doing is actually going to see like my doctor about stuff, my body and what's going on, and like actually taking care of it, because I never go to doctors, I never go to anybody. I just kind of like just cruise through and act like stuff's not happening. And also making more plans for the activities that I do. So I incorporated a lot more of sports and physical activity. And that's something that I would work out before, but I was kind of avoiding like paying so much to do so many things or do things, because I didn't really stick with it all the time. So that's something for me that I think like I faced a little more directly and not avoiding.
That's lovely. Yeah. Okay. These are just giving me ideas of things to work on. But what was the biggest surprise you had this year?
I think one of the biggest surprises I got this year was like a realization that I have so much time. It seems like, I really want to say it might have just been this year that like I really feel like I have so much time every day. And as a business owner, and in the last few years, and even doing all the biz dev and sales and blah, 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 everything just always feels so like not frantic, but it's just always to-do list. I feel like this is the first time this year that maybe I don't have as much anxiety, or it doesn't feel that way. Shout out my supplements and amino acids I've been taking and stuff. Like I feel much more quiet. And so it's surprising to me now that's how effective I can be without being kind of stressed about it. And I do get most things done and have so much time to do everything else every day, which means I probably could even go even harder. But, you know, I take my rest time when I want to, and then the times that I can really like, all right, let me do more, I do more. But I get a lot more done with like less. What is the biggest surprise for you?
The biggest surprise for me, I'm trying to stay away from saying the same thing, or being even in the same realm. So I will say, it'll be a thing. So I got surprised with like just love. Like I remember coming home, and then there was like food and flowers and a new piece of furniture and some other stuff, and I'm like, aw, like that was very unexpected, and it feels so great to just be loved on and appreciated.
Mm-hmm. And so then the opposite, when was a time or what's an instance where you were let down this year?
I kind of let myself down because I got in my head about business, like, oh, I need to be doing all this content creation for this, and then I just didn't end up doing the things. And so there for a while before I had my upturn in my business, like I kind of like let myself down, and got a little discouraged about like sales and dwindling numbers, like when I wasn't doing too much on that side of my business. What about you?
For me, I think my biggest letdown, I'm looking ahead to make sure this is going to be applicable somewhere else, but I think one of the biggest letdowns for me this year was lack of follow through when in a relationship, where if you're saying a lot of things, but then it's like, why, like it never happens or stuff's not happening. And, but then still being like, okay, yeah, and working on it. And just like, I don't know, just people not saying what they are, not doing what they say they're going to do. And I feel like that happened a lot this year. And I'm not even just romantic relationship, but like in a few different spaces, like felt really let down by people like just saying too much. And it makes me consider and think about like like never like over try to do it, or like, you know, just if I say I'm gonna do something, even as small as call you back to give you this money back or whatever, like I'm actually gonna do it. So that makes me really analyze that for myself. But I feel like I was very let down by people who just like did not follow through. Is there anything, Carlie, that you feel that you need to forgive yourself for this year?
Absolutely. And this came to a head last week. I like beat myself up. Inner critic always going crazy, but like I really am kind of mean to myself, like when I make mistakes or when I don't show up perfect or when I do different things. And it's like not like I don't know this, like I've been aware of it for a long time, but I think I'm finally getting to a space where that voice is coming better. But I can definitely forgive myself for the way that I talk to myself. Like my best friend was like, girl, if you talk to me the way you talk to yourself, like I wouldn't be your friend. And it's like, you know that, but whenever you really think about it, it's like, man, like why am I doing this to myself? So
okay,
forgiving myself. What about you?
I would say I can forgive myself. I can forgive myself for re-entertaining. Actually, I don't know. I'm not really mad at that though. I'm not gonna hold you. I would say I can forgive myself for not letting situations go. So it's still kind of mixed with that. But I think that's something that I actually kind of am forgiving myself for and kind of okay with moving forward.
What is the best book you read this year and why?
I would say one of the best books I read this year was the Taylor Jenkins Reid's joint, the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And I really liked it because I loved the storytelling, I loved the writing, and I loved the themes of this book for this woman who was dealing with race, sexual identity, all of these different things. I thought it was very, very good. And after finishing the book, then I got like 4 more books by that author, and I loved all of them. So I would definitely check out Taylor Jenkins Reid, and then thank you to Carlie for putting me on.
Yeah, that is a great book. So go ahead and go grab that. Mine, I'll say, it's called You're Not Broken. And I like it because in the book, and I forgot about the author, but it's You're Not Broken. I think something Duncan might be his last name. 3 names and something Duncan. But in it, he talks about how we get stuck in this loop of like fixing ourselves, and that in and of itself becomes an issue because it's like, oh, I'll be good enough when I X, or when I complete Y, or when I fully heal this. And so you spend your whole life like not feeling good enough, and it's like teaches you. And it's one of those things, it's like, I haven't not heard this before, but it finally clicked. And I like just the language that he uses in the exercises that he has to show you, like, you're not broken, dog. Like, there's nothing more that you can do to be whole. But in this moment of wholeness, here's how you can move forward. So I think it's like
what was the name of the book again?
You Are Not Broken.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you created or like wrote this year that is your favorite?
Yeah. So I actually made this little concrete like bear thing and did like a whole gradient, like sparkly paint thing with it, like in these colors that I like for somebody. Yeah, it's cool. So you mix the concrete or the cement. I don't know the difference. I know I worked in construction, so don't come for me. But you mix it in the little cups and you can do the colors. And so this little silicone mold, and I like poured it in there, and it came out perfect. And it's the first one I've ever made, and it's so cool. It's like this little geometric shaped bear thing, and like, I don't know.
It's a what though? It's a bear?
It's a bear.
Oh, so it's like a thing.
Yeah, it's like an actual thing.
Oh, okay.
But it's just cool because it's like I had this idea. I wanted to do it. I did it. And like it turned out great.
That's always good. I don't know. Maybe one day I'll fucking finish this painting that's been in my room for 2 years. I can't say that. But I would say my favorite piece of... Man, low-key, one of my favorite pieces of writing this year was an email I sent to a client that... basically secured me getting some bands from there. But my emails have gotten much, much better this year in general, because like you write it, but then it's like, now let me actually get to the point. Let me actually check for like, where do I need to be more empowered in this? Let me actually tell you what you really need to hear. And like, they just gotten so much better. So I would say my favorite pieces of writing have been like those few couple emails that have like really been like putting my foot down on something or moving something forward.
Oh, that always feels good. Let's see. What was a new discovery you made this year?
Trying to think of for that. What did I do that's new? And if you have anything, you could go too, because I might need to think a little bit.
So in my like detox and cleanse, I've been eating, like I was raw vegan for a little while and vegan. And so I've discovered like some recipes and things that I really love. And I feel very nourished like with these recipes. Like it's kind of like knockoff sweet greens bowls, but you can make them for better and cheaper at home. Get at me. We can talk about it.
So a recipe you're saying?
Yeah, let's say recipe. So some food, like, but I love that. But also in my head, as someone who's like, I was vegetarian for like 8-9 months in college, but like feeling so nourished and so full and so healthy and good, like while eating these certain things, it's like, oh, it kind of also helped me discover, you know, different ways and better ways to treat my body with food.
And then which that triggered a memory, which I would say is one of my top discoveries. It was not a discovery, but I discovered that I loved it this year. Was you put me on to taking me to the sensory deprivation, the float lab, for you know, sitting there for 2 hours in the dark, because I remember we got those bowls afterwards. So that's what made me think of it. But that's something I really enjoyed, and I'd gone again, and then I got like a package where I could go like 10 times through the year. So that was really a cool discovery for me, for sure.
Awesome.
Is there any goal that you gave up on this year and glad that you did?
Yeah. I have resigned myself from like wanting to be, what's the word? Like a thought leader, or like taking more interest in the fitness space. Like I finally let that shit go. And it's not because I'm not good. And I think that that's my ego, right? Because like I know I'm good. Like I'm a great teacher. I'm excellent at teaching and helping people and doing all that stuff, but it's not really what I want. But I was holding on to it because I was good. And I know I don't know the accolades and the stuff that comes from that and what I could be, but I was really holding on to this thing that I didn't really want. It's like, yes, I have this talent. And a lot of times I feel like in life, people will be like, oh, well, you're so good, you should do that. And it's like, yeah, but that doesn't really get me excited every morning. Like as much of a blessing as it is, and as grateful for all my clients and stuff as it is, like I chose to kind of like really pull back on that and just focus on the shit I care about, for real.
Yeah, that's a really good example. And I think this is a really important question to think about, you know, goals you had that actually you're like, why don't I even want this to be a thing? But at the same time, I'm really struggling to think of a goal that I gave up on. Or actually, for me, it might be something around like daily practice of like writing or putting down your like goals, things like that. Like I used to do that so much more. And something I kind of gave up on structuring my productivity so much. And I'm kind of glad I did, because like, even though I still have my different ways that I plan stuff, I kind of do stuff. It's like, I don't spend as much time trying to like think about like all these things, because a lot of that wasn't like super relevant to right now anyway. And I kind of think I've like spent more time just like doing things and like executing. So I would say that it's like, the goal is not to make the goals. The goal is to execute. And that kind of maybe changed for me this year.
Oh, that's bomb. That'll be definitely a snippet. What simple pleasures have you especially enjoyed this year?
Man, mine is gonna be the same thing that you said earlier, and kind of mixed with what I said. Like the simplest pleasure that I have truly enjoyed this year is really making and drinking my coffee and like just sitting down in the morning. It like really is.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. If you don't have that time in the morning, definitely carve some out. If you don't drink coffee, drink tea or water or whatever. Mine is the simple pleasure, and maybe it's not simple, but it's my answer, so it is what it is. But fine dining, just like really savoring and enjoying a good meal at different places, like being very intentional about when I wanted like really good steak, or when I want to try a place who has really nice cocktails, and just like really enjoying the magic and alchemy that is like food and culinary things.
What about the biggest blessing in disguise this year? Something that seemed kind of like, oh man, I hate to have to go through this, but it ended up being a good thing.
My mom got really sick, and I shout out to one of my friends who got me a plane ticket immediately to go see my mom. And when I got there, she was actually okay. and I don't know if that really answers the questions, but it was a completely unintended trip. I had to take time out. But now I got to spend time with my mom. I got to see my stepdad. I got to see my family. And it was just really nice to be able to go see her. Like at the time I was terrified.
Right, now you got home and she was cool. What?
But yeah, because it's like, for my mama at least, let me not talk about nobody else's parents, but I feel like sometimes you just gotta pop up on her because she not telling me the full truth. And I would talk to her and I'm like, bro, you don't sound good, but you telling me you good and I don't trust this. So I just like popped up and like she had just got out the hospital, but she was so good. And I was like, thank God. Like I expected something completely different.
That's good. For me, definitely the first thing that comes to mind is the biggest blessing in disguise, and I guess this goes with a few losses, but for me would be having a big conflict with work colleagues, and then it ending where it's like, all right, now we don't have to work with them, and I was like, just so much like stress lifted off of me for no reason because it was just a very difficult person to work with, and so being able to have separated from that and separate my work from the things that they were doing has been a really big blessing. Though it's like a lot of like drama and stuff going through it at the time.
Yeah, thank God that got cut out. So we talked about a goal that we've like let go of or kind of released, but what is a goal that you followed through on this year?
This year, did we make at the top of the year like a goals or something episode?
Maybe I don't remember. I'm about to say, damn, we should have went and looked at that.
Because like, you know how you be forgetting what you said you was gonna do.
We can do that in January.
What was a goal for the year that you followed through on or partially followed through on? I know it has to be so many things. Perhaps, I don't know, it might just have to be something work related again for me because I'm not thinking about what the specifics were, but outside of like mindset stuff, I would say a goal for me this year was making like X amount, and then definitely like made the most I've ever made this year. So that had continued to grow like each month. Like the little graph was like going up and up and up and up. So that was a good look, and I would say that was a big goal for me.
I like that. Love that actually for you. Mine was doing all the stuff I said I was going to do with my business. So dropping the products I said I was going to drop, doing the marketing and actually changing all the things, like all the little goals I have for my business, which when you look back at them are actually big goals, but like the incremental ones, like I did them all. And so that feels really good.
It does. And it helps you to like just keep going and keep making new goals. So what are you most looking forward to, Carlie? This is our last question.
Dun, dun, dun. So many things, but in untrue Carlie fashion, I'm just going to say one. I am looking forward to spending more intentional time with loved ones. And I'm thinking like trips around the U.S., out the country, all that stuff. Because your girl got her new passport in. Shout out to the online passport renewal service. And I am so excited to like start traversing the world again with people that I love.
That's great. For me, what I'm most looking forward to right now in my life is like the rejuvenation of working and getting back to work. I feel like for quite a few months this year, it's just kind of like, you know, every time I'm like getting into a meeting or getting stuff, it's like I'm tired. Like I do not feel like doing this. I don't want to do it. And just not like really being there and not wanting to go hard, which is I think is perfectly fine. But now I feel my energy and things feel fun again, and kind of like getting more into creation and pushing things forward instead of just kind of relaxing how I had been.
Aw. So hit us, let us know the answers to any of these questions, but you know, maybe what you're most looking forward to at Carlie's Couch on all the platforms. And then we actually have 23 questions this week because we got the question of the week still. And Lexi, what is the place you most want to visit, like currently, like in this moment?
I would say right now a place that I want to visit the most will be Morocco. And in that space, I love that architecture. I love Moorish history and the colors and the vibe and all of those things. So that's definitely a place that I would like to visit right now.
Man, my head is either in Japan or Colombia. Going back to Colombia or Japan, just because it's Japan and that's so cool. So.
Yeah, I feel like you mentioned that, like wanting to visit Japan. All right, so that is the end of our episode. We definitely had to think about the year and in review. We hope that you've had a decent 2022. We hope there's things that you get out of it, that you'll be able to take into the next year, things that you want to do a little differently, and that you take some time to think about all of that. So enjoy your New Year's Eve and your new year.
And we'll holler at y'all next year.